Hey loves, my name is Bridget, and today we're going to be talking about sacred sexuality for spiritual and starseed awakening. Combine spiritual, starseed, and sex, and I think that this is going to be like a really fun, interesting conversation. And it is, because there's so much potential, particularly through energetic exchange with another, particularly another, to accelerate your vibration and blast you off into the stars or have very powerful, very high spiritual experiences possible to assist your life, your vibration, and the betterment of all, actually. It can be an amazing act of service. To begin, I have 2 other videos on sacred sexuality, which is a good lay of the land of my perspective on it and different ways that you can cultivate these different energies and utilize the amazing fire for your awakening. I mean, this is Kundalini 101, right? It's a powerful, powerful thing. Now, one of the things that isn't often talked about, which is why I want to talk about this, is that you can get to heightened states of consciousness in these experiences to travel, to travel to other times, travel to other planets, other dimensions, and other levels of consciousness. It doesn't have to necessarily be cosmic in nature. It can be highly expansive. There's many different initiation lineages, such as Egypt, that have utilized sexuality for this purpose. So I'm going to be sharing some of the ways that you can work towards creating these experiences, which can be part of your spiritual practice. How does that sound? I think it sounds great. So let's get into some of these ways now. Now, I attached Starseed into this conversation, one, because it's a key word that all of you guys like, and because I have found, because I've done thousands of sessions with different people and been able to see their different lineages and where their soul comes from and such, that when you're engaging in sensual relations with another person that has heightened frequency, if they've had other lifetimes where they've cultivated different spiritual faculties through lifetimes, that definitely comes into this category, because when you're in the sexual act, your field is extremely, extraordinarily open, and a merging happens, right? 2 become 1. 2 different polarities merge into 1. No matter what gender you are, there's a merging that happens and a masculine and feminine balancing that takes place into a state of heightened oneness. So in that openness, you get to open to the expanse of the other person, which isn't always a good thing, depending on what they got going on. And I'm painting a picture of where you can go and kind of like a target carrot, if you will, to, I'm going to tell you my secret, to motivate you to actually do some of this lower center work and cleaning and clearing, which I'll talk about later in the video, so that you can reach these heightened states. Because sometimes it's like, well, that doesn't sound exciting at all. I'm just going to stay right here. But if you really entered the domains of the lower centers and the dragon and the depths of the fire, you can light that fire and use it to blast you off to the stars. So this is my motivational mechanism. I'm letting you into the secret of why I'm posing it this way. With all that being said, you're opening yourself to the other person, and if the other person has heightened, developed energy in this lifetime, other lifetimes, or has a particular genetic aliveness from the stars, we're all from the stars, but have that heightened starseed energy, it's a real good combination. This is where things really light up. So an indicator, maybe if you can't feel, you might feel right away, like some kind of kinship, some kind of connection with the person that's a soul level connection, not just a primal level connection. There's a lot of different layers to sexuality, but a soul level connection. And often for me, I start sensing it, and I can see into their whole field. So that ends up being something. But one of the ways, in addition, if you have that feeling or that recognition that comes up is like a claircognizance, that's really, really beautiful. And then another way that I found that is a surefire way, and other people have experienced this too, I don't know if you have, but it's another indicator, is that when you kiss, your third eye actually either vibrates or light up. And I literally have a blue vibration light that goes on, that goes between the two third eyes, and it's like zee, 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 zee. And that doesn't mean they have to be like identified as a starseed soul or something like that, but that there is this match, there is this heightened, potent, spiritual, psychic match, which shows that there's some level of compatibility and weaving possible in the exchange to go to these heightened states. It's one of the indicators that I've felt. Another indicator is this deeper soul connection. And I feel like these two things, amongst many others, I mean, I can kind of sense their like higher faculties and different things going on. There's more of a telepathic, empathic, psychic exchange that happens. So that's another indicator that can happen. For me, I also experience heightened dreams with these people. So I'll dream with these people when I'm with them. So there's a lot of these different things that start to swirl in my sphere when I know that it's a heightened energy match with the additional fire of the biological fuel and hormones and compatibility in that attraction realm. That's also very essential. That can lead to an exchange that is very, very powerful. So this is like the recipe of the two people coming together and the components that are really required of the two people to go to these heightened states. Some people only look at the attraction, the physicality, just that biological urge, which is great, but you're probably not going to have one of these heightened exchanges with the other person if that's not there for them. You can only go really as high and as deep and as profound and as vast is the other person that you're with. So this is something that I personally now look for, that is a requirement, because I want to go on spiritual journeys with my person in this way. And so this is something that I really look for. And maybe one of the reasons you haven't experienced this before is because you didn't even know that this was possible. So this is why I'm saying that these are some of the indicators that you can look for. Now, if you have been with someone, or even if you haven't been with them sexually, but you've been in proximity, this can also just be a synergy between two friends where there's an exchange. There's an energy exchange happening. It doesn't have to happen sexually. So you can relate this in different ways, and you can start getting to know it in a way with just other friends and people you're meeting, that it lights certain parts of you up. Like when I met Melanie Beckler, for instance, my like crown chakra was freaking bright and light for like the whole next day. Or when I'm with other friends, these certain faculties come on and these certain abilities. Granted, we've had them in other lifetimes. So this can be a friendship thing. But if you have had it in a romantic way, I think one of the reasons people get super stuck on the whole soulmate twin flame thing and they just wallow in that with a particular person is because it is such a powerful experience to have with someone else. This recognition and this ignition, not only on a biological level, but on a soul level, that's like, yay, you're just like sparkling and sparking everything. It's lighting me up, and we're able to communicate in these other ways, and it feels so good. And it's really important to know there's more than just one of those. Sometimes people aren't exposed to a lot of these people, and it just happens to be in my realm. I am exposed to thousands of these, of you amazing light being souls, and I'll tell you, there's a lot of you out there, and that means that there's a lot of different exchanges that can happen that have different purposes, that have different intentions in coming together. There's so much, again, exchange that can just happen in person in connecting, that then, comes to fruition through dreaming, or comes to fruition in a recognition of another time, or solidifies your purpose on a deeper level. So there's a lot of different things and reasons why people come together, but just to know, when you do have these heightened experiences, it's not necessarily a one-time deal. This can be repeated because there's lots of soulmates. And there's lots of people that are lit, and there's lots of people that have beautiful things that you can exchange with in whatever way that you want to. So I want to say that, I want to get that out of the way, because I often see people getting hung up if they have had more powerful experiences with someone, because it is beautiful and it feels rare, but it's not. And so just knowing that there's other people out there, I think, can help you continue on in your exploration. So, getting back to the sexuality. One of the reasons that you probably haven't heard a lot of people talk about this is because it is more on the rare side. So don't expect this to happen just like overnight, right? It totally can too, but don't expect it to happen overnight. The reason why is because we have been so conditioned and so shut down culturally, religiously. It's like cut off. Everything below the head really is really where we've been at. And like the suppression, particularly of the feminine, but the suppression of the integrated masculine as well. And whatever gender, whatever exploration you have. And so we don't know that this vessel is a freaking spaceship. And it is such high technology that has so much capacity and capability to merge and to become one, to truly experientially realize that in an experience with yourself and with another person as yourself, and the whole thing can be quite magical. And so I want you to understand that there's a lot of clutter to move through here, and I'm really grateful because my friend Jocelyn has researched this and been like, I think it's something like a third of women, have never had an orgasm, for instance. And there's so many different shut down energies that it's like, okay, well, how can I even get here up there if this is all shut down? Part of the encouragement, because I'm hearing that a lot of people in the generations in their teens right now, in the early 20s, have just stopped, a lot of them, statistically, have stopped even having sex. And so there's this kind of like asexual energy going on, and I honor whatever your sexual preferences are and however you do that. Let's just gender disclaimer, just speaking here on the things that I know and I've experienced with my explorations. And I just want to encourage that there's a lot of potency, a lot of creative power to celebrate and to nourish life, to nourish nature, to nourish yourself, to nourish the other, to nourish all of one through this act. It's a creative act that's been slowly kind of like distorted and dropped away, and it's just like, okay, I'm just not even going to touch that, right? And my encouragement is to explore it, not necessarily at the beginning with another person, but just, and not even necessarily like by yourself, but to start breaking down those walls of distortion, which will likely look like womb healing, like major generational womb healing. I've had to go through all of this, which is looking at these different lower distorted desires. I have shadow work videos on these, and going into that, looking at the ancestral patterns. It's creepy shit. We've got a lot of cultural conditioning through porn, through advertisement, all kinds of things that took away this spark of purity and of light and of essence when we were coming of age, that we never could be in this clean space with ourselves to go and have the channel, from the base to the heart fully open and access. We got kind of stuck along the way. So how many people have had, the percentage of people that have had different kind of negative sexual experiences. I mean, there's a lot there. So the encouragement is to go through that and to move through that. And the encouragement for sure to look at it on a very emotional and kind way to yourself and with whoever you then engage with, to be in a space of absolute respect with each other and with yourself. And to get to these deeper layers of opening in our physical body, which then opens in our energetic body, is safety. Safety is critical. Safety and kindness and love and passion and celebration and self-respect and communication. All of these things are really, really necessary. And in that space of incubation, of that two becoming one creation act, profound things can happen. And we've been conditioned, especially right now, that it's just like this swipe thing. I've never been on them, so I don't know which way you swipe for what. But you just swipe people, and it's very objectified, and all these things are happening. And so to realize that safety, that communication, that self-work, that the work with the other person, all of those things are really, really necessary to clean ourselves up, to have the other person clean themselves up, and then to meet in this exchange in a profound way. And this is the recipe. This is the recipe, okay? To get to this space where then there's such trust, particularly in the feminine experience, there's a surrender that needs to happen, right? Complete receptivity. And then the direction, the directiveness of the masculine to direct in a really positive and intentional way. So as you have gone through these other steps, I haven't laid them out 1, 2, 3, but you're getting the idea of where we're going on this journey. It's really key if you want to have this sacred sexuality, and if you'd like to have these heightened experiences of exploration in higher dimensions and higher frequency, it's really key to set an intention for your lovemaking. And just that act alone, setting an intention of what you would like to celebrate together, what you would like to create, how you would like to nourish nature, nourish your relationship, whatever that is, just that act of consciousness, particularly combined consciousness, two people focusing on that same thing and adding all this fire to it, right? And all this clean energy that we've fixed up and all of this has profound effects. And setting that intention, what that does is it moves you from the primal instinctual, which is amazing, beautiful. It's the fire that brings us together, okay? But it moves and it creates a pathway, right? Wherever intention goes, energy flows, right? So we're creating an intention of where we want the energy to actually flow in this exchange. And if you don't have an intention, and it's just the primal, and some like porn image comes up, and some other strange demented thing, the energy goes there, and the energy feeds negativity. And so having a clear, clean intention of how to utilize the energy will continue to bring heightened, brighter states of consciousness and awareness to your sensual, sexual experiences. And having a beautiful, again, safe relationship, safe container is really critical for these gateways, particularly in the feminine, to feel good enough to open the Stargate, to be able to travel through, to explore these myriad of different things. And to know that intention is different than expectation. And especially as the male's directing and the female's being receptive, the female has to surrender to wherever that heightened state of frequency is driving. Like wherever that's going. You might think, you're like, I think I'm gonna go to Venus, and it's like, no. You're going to merge with the geometry and with the essence of a rose today. Yeah, that's what you're going to experience. And so honoring whatever comes up, whatever emerges, and again, now this gets into all the different clairs. You might experience it as a vision. I experience things as a vision. You might just feel it as a body sensation, heightened state of bliss, of energy that then is directed to whatever your intention of healing and nourishment wanted to be. So allowing what comes up to come up when you are in this heightened state, when you have the shared intention. The shared intention is also very important because if one person, if you haven't read it, I think I say it in the other sexuality videos, go read the PDF on the raw material about the first 3 chakras and the sacred sexuality. Because if one person's coming at it from like this primal energy, and then the other person's coming at it from a heart energy, it's gonna be a miss. And the other person's gonna have like an addictive energy to that, and it becomes this weird distorted mess. So when you share the intention, it also puts you in the same space to be able to meet, and to be able to meet at these higher centers, even in your body, at the heart, at the throat, at the third eye, and the crown. And then you can have this really, really beautiful exchange that's happening. Now note that these higher states, higher experiences, higher communion with other as you may happen in the actual act itself. It could happen after, in that space of rest and nourishment. It could also happen in dream time afterwards. So there's a lot of ways that this can manifest. And when we're approaching these sacred acts with love and with kindness and care and safety and all those things that I've been talking about, it changes the hormones at play in your body, which are your best friend, and the channels in which the energy runs and how they can run depending on what, the energy is and how clean it is, which I go into actually with my friend Jocelyn in an upcoming podcast episode that'll be out here in the next couple weeks. So stay tuned for my podcast coming out. We go into that specifically, the different kinds of orgasms and how those play. But just to begin, so that's like the little seed being planted of that. But there's so much with that intention and being heart-centered, using the fire of the lower centers and your intention to drive you to these heightened states and these heightened experiences with your partner. So I hope that this perspective and these tips have been helpful for you to plant the seeds and some of the key ways to be able to heighten these experiences with your partner. And if you don't have a partner, then you can begin that clearing out process, that purification process, so that when that person appears in your life and it feels right, you're ready to meet them in a clean way, and you don't necessarily have to process all of your stuff, or you don't come with as much baggage. So this is a wonderful time for the purification, and in that purification process of your own energy, particularly your own sexual energy, that will then attract the right person, right? Because there will be a vibrational match when you're in that pure energy space. I bless wherever you're on your journey, whatever your preferences are, but I hope some of those experiences and different ways of being are helpful so that you can utilize the beauty of sacred sexuality, sacred sensuality to heighten your spiritual experience, your spiritual development and awakening, and experience of oneness with another to nourish and create and celebrate life in those beautiful acts for the benefit of all. So thank you so much for watching. If you have any comments or you have any special experiences where you've had that third eye light up situation with your other soul counterpart, share below, or any different tips or things that you found helpful in your journey. This is just an important conversation to keep on having because there's so much coming up. And so much strange stuff coming up, and so much expression, but a lot of distortion in the sexual arena in our planet right now. And so continuing to hone not what culture says, not what advertisements say, not what porn or Tinder or whatever says, but what your heart says, what your soul says, how you're directed to create as a spiritual being is so, so beautiful. So thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button and the bell button so you get notifications every time I do new videos. And be sure to hit the like button. And I will have my podcast coming out in the next week or two, so please stay tuned for that. I would love your support, and there's so much really good, juicy, long-form content for you to explore there. See you next time.